All right, fam, I'm in the building. We had a little issue with the internet, dropped out. If you can hear me, please feel free to chime in the chat. We back with you. If you're in the chat and you can hear me, chime in with me. We'll stay on the line. We'll stay on the line probably for another 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to try to sneak in a few more calls with the family members, so feel free to chime in if you can hear me. Okay, let me see here. Had an internet issue, family. Okay, Dada, who that to you, Dada? I see you, baby. Big ups to you. Got a little internet issue, family. So y'all can feel free to kind of chime in. Sorry about that. Internet dropped out on us. But we back in the building. DJ, who that to you? Tremal. Till, who that Till? My dog Till in the building. He says, bye, candy apple. Yeah, he gone, bro. He going to the Raiders, man. He going to stake it up for the Raiders. Travis 504, Kenny Sutton. All right, good to see the family members back in the building. Good to see the beautiful Black and Gold family members chiming in the live stream again. Sorry about that. All good. Derek, who that to you, fam? Good to see you in the chat. Like I said, we kind of bottomed out, but I had to reset the stream for whatever reason. Lori, who that to you, Lori? Big ups to you. John T, big ups to you too. Who that to you? Big ups to the family members chiming in the live stream as well. And like I said, family, this is a great time, man, to see a lot of the moves. I know a lot of the family members out there feel kind of conflicted about some of the moves, but let me know how you guys feel about the moves, man. How do you feel? You heard what my take on it was in terms of what I think. I don't think it's a bad move to bring Jenkins back. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. I think it's actually a pretty decent move to bring Jenkins back on the back end of that defense. Big ups to you, Dominic Evans, who that to you, fam? Good to see you in the live chat as well. Michael Sachs Jr., who that to your family? Said love the Malcolm Jenkins signing. I'm a fan of it too, bro. A lot of people don't want to see Malcolm Jenkins back. I guess a lot of people not fans of the retread. You know what I'm saying? But we brought Pat Robertson back. Why not Malcolm Jenkins? So you have two of the Super Bowl starting cornerbacks for the Philadelphia Eagles playing for you, and Jenkins is a lot more impactful than people giving him credit for. Michael Rios, who that to you? Soldier, for God's sake, I can hear you again. Thank you. We had an internet issue. It dropped out, family. Technology not perfect, but we're going to keep on going at it. But what I want to know, family, is how y'all feel about some of the moves the Saints are making. So you can feel free to call in, and our call number is 504-475-4482. That number again is 504-475-4482. The live call-in number is in the chat. I'm going to say it again. Call-in number is 504-475-4482. Sometimes I say it like I'm running an auction or something. I do my auction voice when I'm running the number. Who that to your family? Thank you for calling the Sports Call. Who I'm speaking with.
Yes, another basketball season is suspended though, but this is still Elvin Gentry.
Elvin Gentry need to be suspended with the season. Nah, I'm just kidding. What's up, DJ?
What's going on?
Good, bro. Good, man. How everything going for y'all down there, man?
It's I'm out of two jobs, but Zion and Benson, they paying everybody shadow from the Smoothie Kings, so
that's cool, man.
I guess
that's cool. I thought Gail might have lended a hand, and she gave like some big money toward the effort, for to find, to kind of find a vaccine or whatnot, but or toward that, for the research of it. So you would think somebody, like her, she does a lot though. I can't really put it on her, but that's still big by Zion Williamson to do what he doing, man. Big ups to Zion Williamson, because that's big, man.
Yeah, but it all started with Kevin Love,
right?
Doing it for his little Cleveland. Then Zion, it came out. Zion gonna help, and then I think Golden State doing it and all that. So it's helping us.
Like adopt a arena or adopt a type situation. I like that's big, man.
Yeah. Not to jump back to basketball, but football. The Malcolm Jenkins is I guess it's not too much, y'all, on Eli Apple, because when he came down here, he was way better than Ken Crawley. So y'all Saints fans and the Saints basketball, but crew, not too much on Eli Apple. I mean, I know the man was kind of off, but he was way better than Ken Crawley. But hope he have a good year on the Raiders. My question is, because I should have called on in the last show. My question is, okay, we have Drew Brees back now for like a year and whatever they're gonna do the second year. If they trade Hill, Taysom Hill, with the pick of whoever decide to accept that trade, who do you pick up as a quarterback? Or do you trust any backup QB and at the team? If that makes any sense, or do my question make any sense?
Oh no, I feel you, DJ. I think you're asking me if somebody else signed Taysom Hill, who do you have behind Taysom Hill as a replacement? Correct.
Correct. Like as Tampa Bay quarterback going because they got Tom Brady back there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard talk. I mean, a lot of people have thrown people at the Saints in terms of looking at guys to bring in. I just don't know about the Jameis Winston thing. Even though they're saying that Sean Payton could work with him, I'm saying in my head Bruce Arians couldn't do nothing with that dude. What make you think Sean Payton could do something with him? And Bruce Arians is pretty intelligent in his own right with quarterbacks. So I'm not a Jameis Winston fan in terms of like bringing him back for something, to be your backup quarterback. I think Jameis Winston is going to be forever a Tyrod Taylor type for the rest of his career. He had an opportunity to show what he can do. He had a good team there, and by his own shenanigans and whatever his non-disciplines and whatever he should have really got down there and did what he needed to do, study a little bit harder or what have you. But they've been trying to get Jameis Winston an opportunity to be a quarterback in Tampa. And they had several QB whisperers who talked to him. You had the guy before who had the job because he had a reputation of being a quarterback's friend. And then you have Bruce Arians, who's one of the really good ones in the league. He couldn't do nothing with him. So he drew 5,000 yards, but a boatload of interceptions to go along with it? That's laughable. And he aided in a lot of losses as well. So, I mean, I'm not a fan of the Jameis Winston thing, but you look at free agency, and you can look out at the free agency, and there you can see that they got guys out there in free agency right now that I don't know. Even if the Saints wanted to go back and get sentimental like they did with Malcolm Jenkins, they can't get a guy like Chase Daniels anymore. He was signed away. Then you have some of these transition quarterbacks that you feel safe with to a degree, like a guy like what's his name that signed with Cleveland, the backup Baker Mayfield. So I mean, they don't have too many quarterbacks out there right now in that regard, and there are several of them that's up for trade. Cam Newton is out of the question because he makes way too much money. That's $18 million a year, and then he's still injured. Even if he was totally healthy, he's not on the Saints radar in terms of bringing in anything. Plus, he's 30 years old. So you go outside of that to a guy like Andy Dalton, who makes a lot of money too, not as much as Cam. So I think the only sensible thing the Saints could do, they'll probably end up finding like a veteran. I hate to say it, I don't even realize it, but I think Fitzmagic is another dude that's out there. But it'd be like an older quarterback to sit behind Drew, and then perhaps draft a guy if they lose Taysom Hill. Because, I mean, the options as far as the quarterback goes, they don't have many options now.
So, okay, that goes to my second question. Would y'all sign J.T. Barrett? No.
Barrett going to come back as a practice squad quarterback. That's what the Saints do. They always bring JT in there, and JT Barrett, he'll definitely be in the Saints uniform trying to make a job. And I think the cool part about it is the way he played in Ohio State, I think he deserves to have an opportunity to be on the active roster. The Saints playing games with him, and I just don't see any other quarterback. Like I'm looking at the the free agency tracker, the free agency list right now of available free agents who are left on the list, and I'm looking at some of these numbers, and I am not impressed with some of these backup quarterbacks that's there. But the Saints would take somebody there because you can't utilize Taysom if he's on a team with the Taysom Hill package unless you have a second string quarterback who could, you can use. You got to have three active quarterbacks to use Taysom Hill. You cannot employ him with Drew Brees and put Taysom out there because if somebody gets hurt, then you stuck like Chuck. So the Saints. I'm looking at this tracker, man. I'm serious. I don't see any decent options at quarterback, and most of the teams know it. Look at what the Chicago Bears did. The Chicago Bears knew it. They wasn't going to overpay for Teddy Bridgewater, so what they did was they made a deal with Jacksonville to get Nick Foles for next to nothing. I said that on the show. I said they're going to pick Foles because they don't have to pay for his contract in large part, and then they have a familiarity with him. So, that's what happened. They end up picking him up. But as far as quarterbacks that's available out there right now that they're looking at, I don't see. I'm looking at the list right now, man, and I don't see nothing impressive on this list.
You think, shout out to Dirk Al, so I know he's listening. You think we're going to pick up Kaepernick, or what's going on with Kaepernick?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The Kaepernick is out of the question. I mean, anything is possible. But Sean Payton had an opportunity last year to get Kaepernick, and I just don't think that's going to happen, bro. I'm just going to keep it real with you. That is not going to happen with Sean Payton. Kaepernick is not going to be a Saint. Just keeping it real with you.
So you telling me when this NFL draft, when that day comes, you telling me that we're going to draft a QB?
You should get a quarterback. It might not be the one you want. I want Jalen Hurts. A lot of people want Jordan Love. And it's a third option that's starting to pop up. A lot of people not paying attention to, and it's the guy out of Michigan State. I think his name is Murray Gordon. Let me pull this rookie up because his name is starting to pop up a little bit too much for me. It's a quarterback out of Michigan State. Whoever in the chat, y'all know the name. Share it with the family. I'm gonna look it up right quick. But let me see. Let me pull a guy. His name is. Hold on. Give me just a second. Let me see if I can. NFL prospects. I'm going to pull this guy's name up because his name is starting to pop, fam. And his numbers are actually pretty decent. Let me give you his name here. Hold on just a second. But looking at like what's left in the draft, in the free agency period, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, man, it's laughable. So, unless they go via trade, and I've seen some crazy trades, man, out there. The Saints could pick up a quarterback via trade. They have fullbacks being traded, all kind of stuff. Cut, release. Hold on, let me give you the name of this quarterback.
I can't believe it. That chat really.
The name of the quarterback here is Anthony Gordon. His name is Anthony Gordon from Michigan State. He's 6'2", 205. His number, he played in 13 games for Washington State. 55-79, 5,709 passing yards, almost a 72% completion ratio, 48 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. His name is Anthony Gordon out of Washington State. Anthony Gordon. That name is starting to really ring out. 5,500 yards, 55-79 on the yards, 71.6 passing percentage, 48 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. The name to watch, Anthony Gordon, family. I'm throwing it out there to you. Anthony Gordon. Okay, DJ. Go ahead, fam.
That's all my questions. But other than that, that's it.
All right. I appreciate you, bro. This is a few of the lists of some of the quarterbacks hold on. Let me see if I can pull them up. I'm going to read some of the ones that I see from the guys that's left over from the 2020 class of quarterbacks. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull that damn list up. For whatever reason, it fell off the screen. All right, hold on just a second. We got another call on the line. What's going on, fam? Who's on the line?
Yo, what up, Q? How you doing, man?
Chilling, bro. How you doing?
Hey, this Daquan.
Daquan, what up, Daquan? How you feeling, fam?
I can't make no noise. It's all about you, Q.
Nah, it's all about us, brother. Great Saints Think Tank. We're family, fam.
You know what it is. So I'm in the chat and I'm watching I'm looking at all these contracts and these deals that everybody think that the Saints should have made as far as Chris Harris Jr. and the linebackers
Hello?
and these guards and these wide
Yeah,
receivers,
hold on,
and
DJ.
it's just a bunch of nonsense. Like realistically, all the teams that don't make the playoffs ain't made the playoffs, ain't gonna never make the playoffs. They doing what they supposed to do. They going broke. They making these trades. They making players. They overpaying. The Saints learned their lesson a couple years ago, and they was like, look, we'll never be in that situation ever again. So if you're gonna come here, you're gonna play. Saints made the playoffs the past couple of years. You good. You don't need to You don't need to make no players. You don't need to bring nobody in all the time. If it's a hit or miss situation, either they gonna come or they not gonna come. When it came down to Jamie Collins, the only difference between the Jamie Collins deal and what the Lions offered him, when I looked at the contract and what the Saints offered him, according to the internet, was the guaranteed money. They missed him by $3 million. The Lions said, okay, we'll go ahead. Instead of you getting 27, we'll give you 30. It's not that big of a deal. It's not. You got a guy that's chasing money. We trying to chase rings over here. You chase pennies, you get pennies. You want dollars, we give you dollars. You get Malcolm Jenkins, somebody that can beat Tom Brady and know what he's going to do anytime and every time if you take away his receivers. However, what is Tampa Bay doing? What is Carolina doing? What is Atlanta doing? What is Dallas doing? What is Philly doing? Everybody's scrambling right now to try to knock out who? The New Orleans Saints. They're trying to dethrone the Saints every year. You got the number one receiver in the game. You got a GOAT by yourself in Drew Brees. You got a two-back system in Alvin Kamara on one leg and Latavius Murray. You finally get a tight end. You got a left tackle that's stealing money. You got a left guard that can play any position. You got a right tackle that's made the Pro Bowl since he came. You got a right side outside linebacker that can play the right side or the middle, and Demario Davis. You got a shutdown corner. You let Von Bell go because it was going to be too expensive at times. So you brought in Malcolm Jenkins. You signed Jack Rabbit. You keep P-Rob because you drafted the bum. So now he done finally learned his lesson. So what's the problem? You ready to roll. All you got to do is just sit back, let everybody else make the mistakes. Just let everybody else make the mistakes totally. Let them make the mistakes overall. And then just come on in and just play clean sweep. That's it. You got a first-round tender. Eventually, the Patriots may come up with something. Somebody else may come up with something to get Taysom Hill. If that works out, cool. If not, we good. Either way it go. We can look. Let's go get some wings from Weedat and call it a day, bro. That's it.
Right. That sounds like a winner to me. Get some
saying?
wings there, kick the feet up, Brian, and go ahead. And that's how we do it.
You see what I'm saying? There's no need to panic. A lot of people don't like Malcolm Jenkins right now because he's not the young buck. But guess what? The young bucks cost you $12 to $17 million a year. You're not gonna pay Von Bell that to gamble against Tom Brady twice a year. Maybe if it was Cam Newton, oh yeah, I take that all the time. But I want to go with somebody that's been beat him several times, even in the Super Bowl. Who is that? Is it Von Bell or is it Malcolm Jenkins? The experience right now is what's going to get us over the top. You see what I'm saying? Of course, if you put him where Von Bell was, a lot of the plays that Marcus Williams had to play extra coverage for somebody like a P-Rob or somebody like a Von Bell or somebody like what was the drunk P.J. Williams. That's what a safety does. They help out on the weak spot when you can't have somebody that plays man-to-man. Now, Eric Reed was a gamble, but, we had already made our move, and we good. You good. You look at what everybody did. Somebody overpaid Teddy Bridgewater. $63 million? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we not going to give him that. Y'all can have it. Von Bell, you can have that too. You can have whatever you want. Jimmy Graham ain't been right since he left the Saints. Nobody, and they don't prosper. Brandon Cooks is one concussion away from being out of the NFL. He's one concussion away from being out of the NFL, literally. So what's the big deal? You look at free agency and you see the teams that they're going to take everything they can from us just so they can win. And they still not going to win. You still not going to win. Atlanta, they're going to be the worst in the division. Tampa Bay, they're going to be right behind Atlanta. Carolina is the biggest threat to the New Orleans Saints right now. Why? Because all they needed was a plug-and-play system. That was it. They got their offensive coordinator, and they got Teddy Two Gloves. Once the weather kick up, Teddy Two Gloves will be Teddy No Gloves. Simple as that.
I feel you, Daquan. That's good sentiment, man. Let me reply to I'm gonna reply to DJ first, cuz, and I'm gonna reply to you, DJ. Just on the quarterbacks issue, because I was researching while you was breaking it down, Daquan. The only quarterbacks right now of notable name worth, Joe Flacco is out there. We don't want Joe Flacco, but Joe Flacco is out there. Josh McCown. Remember, we had his brother Luke McCown for many seasons down here in New Orleans. Josh is out there. And, of course, Jameis Winston. So you can see the pickings are very slim in terms of quarterbacks out there in free agency. Those are the more notable of the quarterbacks that are available left at free agency. I just went over Joe Flacco, Josh McCown, Jameis Winston, and Kyle Slaughter. Those are 4 quarterbacks that's still out there that's available. Now, in terms to address some of the concerns about the wide receiver positions, is the fact that you have Emmanuel Sanders out there that a lot of people have interest in, but what the money look like. Philip Dorsett is interesting, but injuries. Robbie Anderson, we anticipate him to get a payday, so perhaps not him, but the Saints might be moving money around. Maybe we have a play on one of those gentlemen. So it's interesting, but I'm thinking not so much as far as the wide receiver, because the Saints, if they were addressing needs in free agency by importance, the first player that they brought back was an old player that played for the Eagles and Jenkins. That was the first move, but in terms of getting a newer player to the team was to address the safety position. But
why was that? Why would you? What? I mean, I know you're a very smart man. You know how I know that? Because for the simple fact, you used to box. Mm-hmm. You think about it. A lot of people said that not Eric, but Malcolm Jenkins literally is too old to play. And you box, right? So it's just like if somebody trained you, literally left-handed, and then all of a sudden, you bring in somebody, let's take out Malcolm Jenkins, you throw Eric Reeves out there, somebody that covers and can't play man and can't play in the box as well as Malcolm Jenkins has. Now you got to tell him, hey, you got to go right-handed. Is it going to work? I need for you to cover this man. I need for you to cover that man. He's not going to be able to do that. It's not the same. It doesn't work in the Dennis Allen defense if I'm not mistaken. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
Jenkins is, like you said, we talk about upgrades, and they say, well, they like the upside of Von Bell. Von Bell was there, but Von Bell was a guy that he had one interception. And I'm not saying Malcolm Jenkins is this big interception machine. He got a lot more than Von Bell. Von has one, despite the fact that he was in all of those games. He played the bulk of the game. And the Saints been watching Von Bell for years, and he just couldn't get it done. I mean, they were expecting him to be one of the guys, an impact guy. They looking for impact back there. Impact and what Jenkins is bringing, like I said, it has a Darren Sharper type feel. And I'm not saying interceptions. I'm saying intelligence. When you look back there, and that's what kind of this move is. This move is like when the Saints brought in Darren Sharper from the I think he came over from the Vikings.
Old man Darren. He played 2 years with the Saints. The first year, he was impactful. The second year, not so much. But the first year, he came back. He gave experience. He taught those guys back there what to look for. And that's what kind of guy Jenkins is. Jenkins is going to bring that stability back there. He's going to bring that veteran presence. And he perhaps can even help Marcus Williams perform better as a safety by teaching him how to tackle, because Jenkins knows how to tackle. He knows where to be. You know, it's a smart dude back then. Of course, you think he was commanding all those big dollars because, you know, people owed him money? No, he was productive. He was productive in Philly. That's why he was getting those big contracts with Philadelphia. And this was merely a cost-saving move for Philadelphia. And when they cut him, they then released him and put Jalen Mills, who was a cornerback, in a safety position. See, this was a cost-cutting move. It wasn't doing the fact that he wasn't impactful or that he wasn't productive back there. Because if you look at his numbers, I just read his statistics. He had over 80 tackles last year.
He had 3 forced fumbles last year. So the man was playing. He's an intelligent player in what you have. You have Marshawn Lattimore there. I'm ultimately thinking they'll get Janoris Jenkins done. So we'll have 2 Jenkins. We'll have Malcolm and Janoris. And then what it does is it creates an interesting situation for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Where does he go? Does he go back to the slot? Does he compete with Marcus Williams for that job? Probably he ends up in the slot. So it does provide some stability with Pat Williams restructuring his contract. He will stay on the team. He'll be in the depth chart as well. So I see where you're going with the Malcolm Jenkins thing. I'm a fan of the Malcolm Jenkins move. I think the money was a little bit much, but this is they're thinking that this guy will help on the back end of defense because they're looking at a Super Bowl year. Right,
and he can take you all the way, the long way. You know what I mean, bro?
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, most people be thinking, we're gonna be 13-3 or we'll be 12-4. Nah. The Saints are thinking like, okay, beyond the 13-3, can you get me past them other 4? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or them other 3 games that we need to get. You know what I mean? Because for the simple fact,
battle tested too.
Yeah,
Daquan battle tested.
Yeah,
he battle tested.
And no, he's won. He's battle won. That's what he is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's been there. He's done that. He's seen what it takes to be great. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because when him and Patrick Robinson was in the backfield, in the secondary of the Eagles, and I said this in the chat, nobody wanted to believe it, only a few. But when him and Patrick Robinson was in the secondary, it wasn't because they had that front 4 and that front 7, their defensive line. But it was because for the simple fact there was communication, and Malcolm Jenkins built Patrick Robinson up in that slot and told him and taught him and trained him up, because everybody knows Patrick Robinson wasn't worth 2 wet food stamps. You remember 2 wet Mexican food stamps? Everybody knew that. That's why the Saints was like, come on, bro. But they had to let him go. They had to cut ties with him because, hey, he couldn't cover a king-size bed.
Yeah.
But now, if you think about it, look at what he's done. Look at what he did with Philly when they didn't have a number 1 or a number 2 or better yet a number 3 corner. They still beat Dallas. Why? How is that? Because of the experience. Somebody that's battle tested and won, that's went up against the greats. He's gone up against Breeze. He's gone up against Tom Brady. But now that you go up against Tom Brady twice a year, do you really want to experiment with somebody like Von Bell, knowing that you got to pay Drew Brees this year this money in a $23 million signing bonus and $2 million base pay? Do you really want to gamble with that? Or do you want to go ahead and get this man a ring so you can send him off in greatness and send Tom Brady back to the retirement home thinking otherwise? That's what you want to do.
I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you on that.
I know it sounds good in theory, and I know we all risking it for the biscuit. I know we are.
That's what it's about, though.
That. But if you think about it, as soon as the Saints start paying big money for the big names to sell tickets, but then they start winning games, because wasn't nobody checking for Demario Davis? Nobody. Wasn't nobody checking for that dude. Now look at him. Wasn't nobody checking. Look, Andrews Pete come out of nowhere. Nobody said anything when he was playing right tackle. Nobody said anything when he played left tackle. Nobody said anything when he played right guard. But now he's at left guard, and he sustained a broken arm and a forearm and a thumb. Now you want to get rid of him. Negro, please. You're killing me, Petey. You're killing me. What you want him to do? Throw the ball and run for president?
It's interesting, man, to say the least. I think Jenkins
the market for Andrews Pete right now is it's too high. When the Patriots did Thuney, when they did their left guard and they franchise tag him, man, it was over with. I was like, yeah, he got to stay. He got to stay, because you don't want to risk. You can't risk it. If he walk out the door, you might as well say Kamara and Latavius Murray got to run right side. They're gonna run power O to the right side the whole year, because you have nothing on the other side of the ball. Because you can't sit up there and look at Armstead and be like, oh yeah, he gonna give me 16 plus games. This dude gonna give you a 2-week notice in week 8.
Yeah. Yeah, they look. It's a bunch of things, man. Some interesting stuff, man. I think a lot of people, just looking at the team and they thinking from the perspective of the Saints supposed to do certain things first. They put out the need list and the Saints instead of addressing what people can universally agree as one of their biggest needs, which is the wide receiver position, getting a wide receiver in free agency. The Saints went defensive. They went safety with the first move outside of signing its current staff for David Onyemata. It's been a surprising offseason to start off with. You would not suspect the Saints would have went at David Onyemata to sign him. He was the last person that I anticipated the Saints would deal with first. Based upon the fact that
it's like you said, your best ability
is your availability.
Availability.
Right.
So are you getting is Rankins always available? I'm just asking for a friend. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not. You see what I'm saying? And we got beat by Minnesota because they put all their speed rushers in the middle instead on the outside. So if you wanted to do that, was Marcus Davenport available? He wasn't.
Nope.
He's not. Who was always there? You got Cam Jordan and you got David Onyemata every down. You didn't even have to look at the IR because it didn't matter. They played with diarrhea, broken toes. It don't matter. One eye open, they didn't care. They played. It's just your best ability is availability. That's what you got out of Onyemata.
That you did, man. He was there in a major capacity, except for that first game where he was suspended for that ridiculousness of what they call a weed charge.
But think about it, though. They're gonna do him. They're gonna do him like they did Sheldon Rankins 2 years ago. Remember Sheldon Rankins? I had to bring it up to your attention at the beginning of this past season. But remember, Sheldon Rankins just got a 3-year deal. David Onyemata just got a new deal. Next year, I expect if he played like he played this year.
Hold on for a second, Daquan. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I'm done. Y'all be safe and keep it going.
All right, my brother. Be good. Thank you for your call, bro. Keep your head up.
You too.
Peace. That's DJ. Go ahead, Daquan. DJ is off the line, brother.
Oh man, my bad, DJ. So it's just one of those things. Like you got to take care of those that's been taking care of you. I just feel like overall, let's not panic. It ain't time to hit the panic button yet. With anything or whatever the Saints are doing. We won 13 games with this team here once before without Malcolm Jenkins. So with Drew Brees on a one-leg Kamara and half effort with the wide receiving core that we had once before, in and out tight end, and half play out of a cornerback, out of a secondary. So you're good. You looking at the team right now. You got 12 wins automatically. If you look at the schedule and look at the teams that you're gonna put, you got 12 minimum. No questions asked. You're gonna beat Tampa Bay twice. You're gonna beat them twice, no matter what.
Yeah, you got a lot. Listen, man, it's a lot as the team has to deal with. I mean, in terms of signing some of its players, you got the Elvin Kamara system that's going to come to a situation that's going to come to a head sooner or later. You have several responsibilities in terms of positions that you ultimately have to address. Wide receiver and depth positions, dealing with the offensive line. The left guard position is still concerned because do you opt in to keep Nick Eason, or do you then opt out and find somebody else? There are not too many people that's left. The highest guard left on the board is Andrus Peat. So the market is there, and there's a familiarity there. Perhaps they strike a deal. It wouldn't surprise me based upon the moves that the Saints are making. The model or the theme of this free agency is familiarity. They're going with guys that they're familiar with. They know what they can do or what they can give. And that could be in line with the Malcolm Jenkins sign, and they can ultimately go back to Andrus Peat. That's why I paid the snippet up that Deuce McAllister's interview, because he probably have some inside baseball on that situation. For him to throw that out there, that kind of caught my ear right there. It's like, let me share this with the family. But no doubt about it. You're absolutely right. Dealing with and educating the Great Saints think tank on the mindset or the vision, because sometimes we don't all see things the same. That's why the Great Saints think tank is here to be able to share that vantage point, so the family members can gain insight on what what they perceive, and they might not have this piece of information and that piece of information, and then and we have the ability to shine some light on maybe some darkness or some clouds. You'll be able to clear up a little fog there about what's going on. So that's excellent commentary there, Daquan.
Yeah, man. All right, hey Q, I'm gonna let you go because I gotta eat, man. It's time. But I just wanted to just let you know, man, you got a good show going on. Whenever I'm in the city again, I got an Airbnb that I have in Tremaine, me and my wife and the kids. So when the next time I come down, which will probably be in the next couple of weeks after all this other stuff go over with, I'm going to holler at you.
All right. Appreciate you, Daquan. Who that to you? Be safe out there, my brother, and thank you.
Be easy.
Peace. That's Daquan, man. Big ups to Daquan. Big ups to DJ. Big ups to DLP. And big ups to my other caller who called earlier. God dog it, I forgot. I was trying to remember. See, I usually write everything down, but I'm trying to get my memory right here. So which one of the callers I've forgotten? Let me see. I got DJ, DLP, Daquan, and was it Iceman? Y'all remind me in the chat. I apologize. But let's keep it going, fam. Let's see it up. DLP says keep it up, Q. Let's see, Tyrod. Dominic says Cam or Dalton, Tyrod Taylor. We want to sign a Kaepernick. We need to sign Kaepernick. That would be interesting because, Sean Payton probably would go with, out of those guys left that I made mention of, Joe Flacco. That would be a guy like he would, or Luke McCown's brother. He had his brother here. Josh McCown could be a guy too. Or how about Fitzmagic? I think Fitzmagic's still out there too. So, who knows, man? But they most certainly need to address the quarterback position, and we'll see how Taysom Hill is. We might not even be here. We'll see how this unfolds. What's up, fam? Thanks for calling the show. Who's speaking? What up, GM Kev? You kind of low, bro. You got an echo too, bro.
Okay, yeah, I just took
there you
Bluetooth.
Go. There you go. There you, like night and day.
All right, man. What the hell is going on around here, man? What the hell? Hold up. Look, it's a lot of sugarcoating going on right now, man. Look, I'm going to tell you, I know it is not time to panic. But Q, let's go back. Okay. Didn't we have a list of people that we said that could actually bring immediate impact, right?
Yes, we did.
On our board that we listed, probably
Carlito.
Most of all those players.
Hold on, Kev. I'm sorry. Give me a shout out. I forgot Carlito. That's who it was. It was Carlito. Thank you, Revolt. Go ahead, Kev.
Okay. So we had a list of players that, we thought that would make an immediate impact to the Saints. And if the Saints had restructured contracts earlier, they could have made a play at those guys. But, it took them a long time. They waited on Drew's contract, waited to see when he was going to actually come back, if he was going to come back. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of that time that went by, they couldn't get that in order fast enough to go after maybe one or two of those guys that we had or we had on the list. Do I like the Malcolm Jenkins signing? I'm kind of like in the middle. I understand why from a veteran perspective. And free agency is a thing that where you're going to overpay. That's why you seen Onyemata got probably a few more million than was expected.
He was unrestricted, bro. Somebody was going to throw that extra at him.
Somebody's going to throw them. That's the game it is. But,
right.
You got to look at this. He's a player with a lot of potential that's available. And, we got all these players that, remember we talked about that, hey, such and such could be good or he may be good, but they're hurt. Like, what's the guy, the linebacker that you're really high on? What's this guy now? I can't think of his name. The rookie that was hurt last year.
Oh, what team?
Ellis, Caden Ellis.
Oh yeah. He's healthy. He's 100% healthy now.
Well, now, but last year.
Oh yeah.
In the season hurt.
Right.
And then Keith Kirkwood. Oh, looks good. Hurt. Anzalone looks good. Hurt. So you can understand, like, you're paying players that shows up every week. right now you at the bottom of the list, and that's why you're trying to see all these reconstructions to go after a player. So if you can look up right now, who's the remaining free agency that likely may come to the Saints? Can you pull that up right now?
Yeah, give me just a second, bro. I just had the list up here. Just a moment ago. Hold on here. Let me see if I can bring it back up here. Yeah, because hold on here. Hold on. Where is it at? I just had to blast the thing, and whatever reason I clicked off of it. But,
and they do need a guy back there that, in the secondary that can take command. I agree with Deuce on that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see, and it was kind of hard for Jack Rabbit to come into a new team, going into the end of the year to be that guy,
Mm-hmm. No, well, I mean, but that's like I think Janoris Jenkins could be able to do it. That's what some of the really good, he's a really good cornerback. And I think you don't want to have too much turnover. Like if you, look at, they're going to sign Janoris Jenkins to a really good deal, a cap-friendly deal for the team because what's the option? Look what Marcus Trufant got in free agency. Look what you're going to overspend. You have a 1-year deal. You can just kind of extend his current deal out to about 2 or 3 years. And you have him, Janoris Jenkins, Malcolm Jenkins, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Marshawn Lattimore, then Pat Robertson as a depth player. That's a pretty decent. That's more than a decent secondary there. Especially you have the draft pick there that can help out. Then you get some of these contract minimum veterans that'll come in the second or third level of free agency. Man, I'm telling you, the Saints secondary is looking good, but the Saints are not done yet. They still have other positions to address, and I think the pass rusher position has to be one of those positions. But
that's
the
position that's the position right now. I'm kind of really frustrated about because we was real high on Robert Quinn, and when I seen the signing, I was like, oh my God, how did you And then, Corey Littleton, now he's gone. I'm thinking like, damn, okay.
Yep. Now, Alec Ogletree's still out
there. Well, at this point, look, you can't be picking, right? A lot of them top guys, we knew they was going to be gone. If you don't make those moves and be aggressive, they're not going to, teams trying to get better. You look at, what's the other guy? The Giants put a franchise tag on Leonard Williams. I was thinking about bringing him in for some rotation. Let's cut him, and then we could have signed him for a cheaper deal. But guess what? They locked him up for at least 1 year. So I was like, God damn.
Yeah, they pulled him off the board quick, man.
Ooh,
they came off that quick. Before they even opened up, you guys got transition tagged and locked up in a lot of the talent. It was a weak free agency period already, but when you see some of those names drop down, you would think that it kind of made it a little bit more spicier. But, man, that went away really quick.
So who we got left now remaining that could be an impact? Do you go after a Logan Ryan at this point? Because who's going to play the third corner? I don't think Malcolm Jenkins will. Probably so, because if they pay him Malcolm $8, you're not going to have him as a rotating player, right? I think he will start.
Right. The only thing changes is Malcolm Jenkins goes where Von Bell was. And Marcus Williams stays there. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to move into a nickel position like he was last year, and that's pretty much what it's going to be. And then, of course, you have Pat Robertson as the down back, and then you have, and that's what it basically is going to shape up to be. Now, they might add a free agent, like a draft pick player in there to kind of make it a little different or what have you, and bring some undrafted guys in there to compete. But really, the meat and potatoes, that's what it's ultimately looking like it's going to shape out to be.
Well, from the moves they've been making as far as reconstruction of contracts in the last 2 days, it seems to me like they're working on a big trade. I mean, that's that would make sense if you're going to make that trade. Because you got to acquire whatever that guy's number is in that trade when you get him that year, so you would need that cap room. So that's what kind of, I don't know who's going to get traded, but it would make sense why they haven't made not even getting into a bidding war with some of these people. Even if you wasn't going to win, you'd have been like, okay, well, the Saints did try to get Robert Quinn and one of those big, guys that can help out. It wasn't even a try there. So that's letting me know that with all the reconstruction, they're freeing up cap room to land that major deal. Now, who it is, I have no idea. What position they're going to be looking for. I don't think it would be at the end, though.
Well,
It'll probably have to be a receiver or a corner, right?
Well, I'm looking at the list of people that's available, and they're talking about making a splash in free agency. I mean, the guys that's on the list is guys like Jadeveon Clowney, which we know that's out of the question.
He out. Yeah,
Everson Griffin is there, and there's no rumors linking him to the Saints, but that don't mean anything. There was no rumors linking Malcolm Brown to the Saints when he signed. So I mean, it could jump right on you. There are guys like Xavier Rhodes that's out there. That's as far as the cornerback position go. But you have Griffin, Emmanuel Sanders, the wide receiver. His market value is not where people anticipated it to be. Alec Ogletree, 28 years old, but he played some defensive end, some linebacker. Logan Ryan, which I don't know if the Saints go for a cornerback, being that we know with Johnson going to Johnson is going to be a cheap option at the nickel. Plus, they want to get him on the field anyway. And you keep going further down on the list that I have. In terms of guards, Ronald Leary, which is somebody the Saints were looking at some time ago. Maybe they get old vet to kind of go through the Andrews Pete thing, a cheap move. I don't know. Ezekiel Ansah was another dude. I mentioned Ezekiel Ansah about a possible position. He's 100% healthy this time around. He's 31 years of age. The Saints can get him for like $4, $5, $6 million on a prove-it deal to come in. And he's basically when he was at his level, he was what they wanted Davenport to be. They basically compared the two when he came out. So imagine having Ezekiel Ansah come in as a situational passer there. He will play cheap. There's Jabal Sheard, who's actually
him.
Same
age.
He's
a good rotation.
Yeah, he played well. He was with Cleveland. He was with the Colts. He played okay. And you got Sheard there, and then there. Who else we got? Michael Bennett, which I don't think so. He's not a Saint type player. And then you're looking at people like Kevin Beacham at left tackle that can come in and probably provide some depth. That's Cameron Wake still there out there. As far as the tight ends, I know the Saints are probably not going to get a tight end. I see Eric Ebron there. But quarterback Jameis Winston, and I'm looking at this list, and DJ asked me about that. And I went through a list of quarterbacks that –
That's interesting too. The backup quarterback situation is going to be interesting.
Well, because
I forgot.
I got an expanded list here. Jameis Winston is at the top of the list, followed by guys like Josh McCown, whose brother played for the Saints. There's Trevor Simeon, the former Bronco. Mike Glennon is on the list. Brett Huntley, who used to play for the Packers in Arizona. Blaine Gabbert's on the list. Matt Moore could be an interesting option. KC did let Matt Moore go. Matt Moore would be the perfect choice as a backup for the Saints if they were to go in that direction. Matt Moore would be out of all those guys. You got Joe Webb, Blake Bortles, Geno Smith, Brandon Allen, and then you have, of course, Joe Flacco is going to be on that list. Out of all those guys, and you're looking for money, Matt Moore would probably be the best option, the short-term answer guy you could trust. Also, Colt McCoy is on this list. So those guys are pretty much it. But if you look in terms of the wide receivers, and let me pull this up as well. The wide receivers are still available for the Saints. If for those who are interested and want to know what about the wide receivers queue, like I mentioned, Emmanuel Sanders is there. Paul Richardson, the speedy wide receiver, used to play for the Washington Redskins and the Ravens. Taylor Gabriel used to play for Chicago. He's there. So is Trevor Benjamin. Both two speedsters are there. Brashard Perriman, who's fought to play for the Saints back in the day. He has injury history, but when healthy, he can contribute. Robbie Anderson is still available, although they're anticipating him to be signed in the next couple of days. Geronimo Allison, Philip Dorsett, Rashard Higgins, Tevon Austin, Dwayne Harris, Javon Curse, Russell Shepard from LSU used to play for the Tigers, Justin Hardy, Ryan Grant, Jordan Matthews, Laquan Treadwell used to be in Ole Miss, and then of course a couple of familiar guys, the Saints, Austin Carr and Keith Kirkwood, can ultimately guys that they bring back as well. Tajay Sharp is another interesting option as well. So Corey Coleman from the Giants. So I mean, there's a number of guys, but these are not impact players. These are merely depth players. Now, if you want impact players, Emmanuel Sanders would be a guy that you go with for a year or two, maybe a 1-year contract or a 2-year contract with Emmanuel Sanders, but he doesn't sign cheap. He's not
going to be cheap.
He ain't going to be cheap. He never is. So, I mean, this is a few things. And then you go guard. What'd you do with Andrews Pete? He's the top. He's the top one right now that's still available among the guards. And then other guards behind him, as my list sinks. Give me just a second. This damn is sinking. But yeah, it just goes to show you. Yeah, Ronald Leary, Andrus is at the top of the list. Mike Upati, I think his name is, from Seattle. Let's see who else is here. Kevin Pamphile from the Giants, used to play for the Giants. Ryan Groy, who the Saints used to have on the team, and Richie Incognito, which we don't want none of that. Ted Larson. None of these guys are like starters here. That's why Andrus Pete's name is kind of. And of course, the Saints were looking at Ron Leary some years ago when they was trying to get a trade on from the Cowboys. The Cowboys wanted too much from him. He's available, maybe a 1-year fill-in player to get into the draft. I don't know how they feel about it, but the guard position is pretty much what it is. And then you go defensive end, or let me see, is it edge rusher or end? It is end. So if you go in, like I said, Everson Griffin is there. And it's anticipating Seattle is looking at signing Everson Griffin. I just researched that. Rumor circulating around him because they couldn't get Jadeveon Clowney. They had him there. He wants too much money, but Everson Griffin is the next thing behind him. And of course, like I said, if it's a blockbuster situation, could it be a situation lining up? And I'm just merely throwing this out there, family, so don't blow a gasket. Is the fact that could it, if the Saints are freeing up money and they're trying to make a move, and we know Mickey Loomis is the master of capnomics, would it be a play where the Saints are looking as an impact player, could be getting a guy, or possibly trying to land a guy like Jadeveon Clowney? If they free up capital, it could be something big like that. It could be.
That's what it's either that or they're trying to acquire more picks in the draft.
Could be.
It's one of those two, because if you look at in terms of what they could have needed to get help in some of those guys that's gone. And they didn't even try to make those, pushes. People just leaving the board. Saints not even trying, And, some of the picks they have already, it's been confusing to a lot of people, a lot of professional people who writes and following it. They're like, man, what the hell is this move about? Like, they blown away like most of us are. So it would have to be for picks. It would have to be. Or like you said, I'm thinking you freeing up all this money because, look, you just did Mike Thomas' contract, last season, and now he already reconstructing,
right?
So that lets me know you got an eye on this, either a big player coming in. I would think it had to be at the DN position, or you trying to acquire more picks. Because if you trade a player, whatever player you trade, you're trying to get some compensation back. I mean, look, you still got to sign all your draft picks as well, and then you want some cap room throughout the season just in case if how it goes, a player gets frustrated with another coach asking for a trade, or somebody gets cut you didn't see getting cut. How. So you want some cap on your books during the season. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting, because they would have to free up some money to get him because he wants 20-something million a season. But
20?
That's what we're looking at for him. He wants top pay, but the thing is that he's the top pass rusher on the board. He wants to be the top pass rusher. He wants to get top pass rusher pay. Seattle's looking at him. Not Seattle. Seattle. Who was it? It was several teams looking at him to sign him. So he might he's gonna be getting signed really soon. I'll tell you that much.
Let me ask you. You play GM. Would you make the move to go for Clowney?
I would not, because I know Clowney would be a dude that would. You talking about hamstring you? That contract. He would have to take us. He would have to take a little bit less to come and play for the Saints. But if he did. Man, he would fill in perfectly for the Saints. He would be a legitimate option next to Cam, and then Davenport would be a guy that would back him up as a situational pass rusher, which is pretty much what he is right now based upon his snaps. Missing half the season, that's pretty much a situational snappage as it stands. And he would be one, he would complete that defensive part. Then you can be able to really fill it in through the draft, and you could take your time. That's that pass rush. That pass rush is imperative, and I keep saying that.
You have to have that.
You got to have. Look what happened to him in the Minnesota Vikings game. If they had a legitimate pass rush against the 49ers, They could have really shifted the game. If they had a pass rush against the Falcons, they could have done some stuff. So like I'm saying, when you got a guy that's coming there tearing ass and getting there and knocking the quarterback around, he knocking the ball loose to get fumbles, and often sometimes you can pick him up and return him. He hurries the quarterbacks to throw interceptions. And those guys do. There's a premium on them. That's why they're so expensive. But if I'm the Saints and I recognize that I needed a leader on the back end of my defense with veteran experience, aka Malcolm Jenkins is back for $8 million, then I go ahead on the front end of the defense, and then because the linebacker position, even though you do need depth, they believe in Caden Ellis, and they also realize Alexander Zalone will be 100% healthy coming back for another season. Not so much with Kiko Alonso because he's still rehabbing. But the Saints, the truth be told, they had really good, for the last several years, they had really good undrafted linebackers that should have made the team. Darnell Sankey was a guy that they released. He should have made the team. That guy should have, even Deuce McAllister said that. He said Sankey should have made the team the way he was playing. So the Saints have prospects that they always find that can contribute in that capacity. So they don't have to go and overboard to sign somebody to bring them in. And plus, if they need help, that they can always go back to the veteran option to bring a guy like Manti Te'o or guys like that always be milling about. Give them a call to come and fill in for a few games if you're dealing with an injury situation or what have you. Now, when you look at the defensive end position, if I'm the Saints and I'm Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis, I'm looking at Everson Griffin. Everson Griffin has been a pain in the Saints' ass ever since he's been wearing the color purple. He's been a pain in the Saints' ass. And the Saints have a recent history of going at Minnesota Vikings people and taking their people from them. You know, and they did it with Latavius Murray, who was kicking their ass when he was playing up there, running through him, and the whole team carrying on his back. That's Sean Payton signed him and brought him here. You had Zach Lyon, who was up there blocking for Latavius Murray. He brought him over here. You had a guy like Nick. He pilfered 3 Vikings players last year. He took Marcus Shrells, Nick Eason, and Latavius Murray. So, I mean, that's not going to stop. He's going to keep pilfering players from them. Why not pilfer another Minnesota Viking player in Everson Griffin to come on? Because
how much he cost?
Oh, well, I mean, Griffin is a lot cheaper. He's a lot cheaper option than what you would be for a guy like Jadeveon Clowney. I'm pulling up Jadeveon Clowney's market value as it stands. And
$20 million?
He wants $20 million a season. Now, however you give it to him, that's another part. God. Remember Sean Payton?
You're talking about who got to do some wizardry on some financial.
Well, I mean, not really, because he could still do a deal like how he did with Drew Brees. I mean, they gave Drew Brees $50 million over 2 years, right? But the first year of the contract is for $2 million. Do you know that? Did you know that, Kev?
Yeah.
That the first year is just $2 million. It's a $2 million base salary on the year, and then all that other stuff falls in other different forms, and then $25 million on the back end, and they got all this other stuff. But looking at it annually, right now, its market value right now is $20 million. A market value contract for Jadeveon Clowney at 6 years is 6 years at $120 million. And that's because he's incredibly productive. Now, Everson Griffin doesn't. I'm pulling his numbers up right now. They're not showing his market value right now. He's 32 years old. And what did Everson make last year? If I could pull up his contract right here, they're not showing what he made last year. But his production in terms of his statistics are damn good. I mean, the guy is incredibly productive. He had 8 sacks last year. You know. No,
he was wrecking. He was wrecking the stuff from last year. You know.
He was, and then the 2018 year, he had 5.5 sacks, but only played 11 games. But in 2017, he had double-digit sacks. He had 13 sacks 2017. You know, and then he's done that several times. It's been several times when he's had double-digit sack years. 75 total sacks over his career since 2010 when he came in the league as a 4th-round pick out of Southern California. So, I mean, the man has 75 sacks. You know, he knows how to get to the quarterback.
Well, you know what, going back to Clowney, you know, you got to go back with your first thought. You said no, you wouldn't sign him because, you know, even though Drew, that $2 million you're talking about, you know, all this stuff is being reconstructed for this year to have this year only. But the bill isn't going away,
Kevin. By comparison, too, just a little extra caveat on the Everson Griffin versus Cam Jordan. Cam has 87 total sacks since he's been in the league. Griffin is 75. So go ahead with your thought.
Oh, I'm just saying, all this stuff is being cleared so, you know, they can, and we talked about it, where they can get Drew the best help they can under the circumstances and with the limited funds. So all this being cleared up for this year. But as the year go on, or next year go on, the money is not actually leaving. The problem isn't leaving. You're just delaying the problem. You're just saying, like, we'll pay it later. That's what you're really saying. When guys coming in taking these deals, like, and if you're going to get a Clowney, however you rework it, and if he takes, with the cap or however you rework that, you're still going to pay him that 20, whatever his market value is, you're going to pay that either now or over time, or stretch it out, and installment payments or whatever. But it ain't going away, So that's just how it goes, man,
No, I mean, you make a point on it when you make mention of the fact that, the cap is designed a certain way to kind of make everything fair. So you have certain teams that have more money than other teams, and it becomes a scenario like the Yankees, when the Yankees run around here buying up everybody and other teams don't have a chance. So it's a little different. It's a little different now. So they kind of balance the playing field more so. But the Saints have a unique skill set when dealing with stuff like that. Most teams, rule of thumb traditionally, they try to wheel and deal and get smart contracts and get productive players. Sometimes you gotta put the money. If you got a guy that has a skill, and let's just make no bones about it. If you're going to pay a lot of money for a player on defense, he has to do two things. He has to be able to sack the quarterback consistently, and he has to be able to catch interceptions consistently. You can have a guy that can be one of the top linebackers, lead the league in tackles over the last 3 years, and still be released by his team. That was a recent example, and that was Blake Martinez. Blake Martinez, the middle linebacker for the Green Bay Packers, who just signed a 3-year deal at $10 million to play for the Giants, $10 million a year, $30 million deal overall, was one of the top linebackers in the NFL. The tackle stats don't matter. Demario Davis was averaging over 100 tackles every year, still can't reach the Pro Bowl. But you got guys, but knowing that you have to be able to either get sacks as a defensive lineman, or if you're a defensive back, you got to get interceptions. You have to be able to get the interceptions. That's what they pay for. So
do you right about that?
That's what I'm saying. That's what the GMs are willing to pay for. If you can get to the quarterback. Now, Everson Griffin, I just laid that out for you about him. I'm not even going to look up Jadavion's stats because we know he's out of the question. But, in terms of the money, but if he was seeking $20 million from the Saints, and Saints, listen, we can't give you $20 million, we'll give you 15 or 16 or 17. And what we do is we'll incentivize you, and then we'll give you a big ass signing bonus. We'll give you this or guarantee you a certain amount of your contract, whatever it is. And he gonna say one of his caveats is he want a multiple year deal. He don't want a 1 or 2 year deal.
Yeah, he don't want no 1 or 2. Yeah,
right. He want to
be locked up.
He won't be locked up for a while. So you want to give him a 4 or 5 year deal, and then what you do is you kind of keep the money low in the first couple of years, and then you backload the money toward the back end of his contract. So as his production dips, because really it's a futuristic movie for the next 2 or 3 years, and as his money his numbers start dipping, and he start getting hurt, then you can use that as leverage to release him. And that's what they do. But we don't fuss at the teams when they treat them like that, but that's just what it is.
But you said you wouldn't go after them, though.
If we can get them down, like I'm saying, it's like you got to
15,
right. If 20 is ridiculous. That's just, I understand what you're asking for. If you're a guy and you like Ferraris or you like sports cars, Italian sports car, and that's what you're looking for, don't go to the goddamn used car dealerships and go buy a Subaru. If you a guy that's interested in Italian cars, you're gonna be disappointed. Drive what you want to drive, what you can afford to drive, and if it's in your heart to drive that Italian car and you have to pay for it, get your ass another job and work 2 jobs. If that's what you want, go work for it. But I don't think the Saints are gonna give nobody that's not named Drew Brees $20 million. I'm sorry, they're not gonna give it to him.
That's kind of hard to believe because you already got. Think about this. You got Cam. His last deal is still up there. He's still in the top 5, one of the highest players on the team, paid players on the team. And then, just a couple of years ago, you moved up to get Davenport. So you already invested a lot right there at defensive end. So I
True.
think at this point you'd be looking for just depth guys to come in and, give some rest that can still rush the passer. Because if you give Clowney this money, he's starting. So whose place he gonna take?
Davenport.
It would have to be.
Davenport with no hesitation.
Yeah.
Because you got to understand, Davenport is not going to become what the Saints need him to become next year. This is going to be his third year, and he can have a progression, a big leap. But they need somebody to tear ass on that other side. They need to ratchet up the pressure. This is Drew Brees' last year, in which I'm going to throw it out there. I don't think it's his last year. I think they gave him a 4-year contract, and the second year of the contract has $25 million in it, and it looked like a playable year to me. I'm gonna just keep it real. It's like if he wants to come back, they're gonna let him come back. That's what I'm thinking.
The door open. The door is open for that. And if he stays healthy, he probably will.
Because they could have voided out that second year as well. Why would you give 2 non-voidable years and backload the second year and then have the third and fourth years voidable years? See, I look at stuff like that, and I'm like, they're telling you a 1-year deal, but the door is open, in which I'm thinking that he is going to play in the second year. I'm just going to leave that alone. I'll address it at another time. But yeah, but as far as you're calling the Jadeveon Clowney thing, if by any stretch of imagination, if they saying they won't make a big move, what could be a bigger move by getting the biggest free agent still left on the board, who people don't think
that
they
would
can
be
get?
it.
Okay,
that would be it. It would have to be.
Okay, so would that be a big move? Be getting Everson Griffin? Not so much.
Everson Griffin wouldn't. No, I mean it still would be a good move, but you're still saying, well, Evan Griffin's looking at what, probably about $8-9 million to a season.
Right.
Okay, so I still would think that he would. Didn't he start for the Vikings?
He started all that time out there. 75.
That's what I'm saying.
75 total sacks over the duration of time with Minnesota, and Cam has 87. This man has 75.
So why would he come here? Well, why would he come here to be a backup?
He wouldn't come here to be a backup. He would start. You would put Davenport away, because Davenport is basically playing backup snaps right now anyway. He's basically a situational passer. That's what his amount of time is equating to. You can't, and I'm not saying that he won't be healthy in the third year, but that you're putting too much pressure on Cam and Davenport to provide pressure for the quarterback, and you don't have nobody behind him that you can really count on. The guys that's behind him, Trey Henderson, is even more injury prone than Davenport. So how is he gonna be the dude that filling for? And get this, Henderson is a backup. He playing as a backup and still hurt. He hurt. How is that possible? How you more hurt than a starter? You know, whatever Cam drink and go and borrow it from him. Go buy several boxes of the shit and drink it. Because the reality is,
Cam older too. At the top of that, he's older. He's still more healthy.
How are you a backup situational pass rusher and you hurt more than a starter? I look at stuff like that and I say, hold on. That's why I said last year I wanted to kind of get away from Trey Hendrickson, but people keep saying Trey, he tricks and fools you because he does just enough. Like he like the Elvin Gentry of the Saints. He does just enough to keep you from firing his ass. Just when you ready to throw him overboard, he have a 3 or 4 game winning streak and they start looking good. Then this when you buy in, he start falling true floor. He have a 2-game losing streak. He do just enough to keep off the hot seat. Then he jump on it, then do enough to get off. That's Trey Hendrickson. So that's what I'm saying. They need to cut. And behind Trey Henderson is Carl Granderson. He's an even bigger question mark. Because even though he has some potential, they all question. You can't do that if you're talking about this is the man's final year. And then you get Jenkins. You get Jenkins back there for $8 million, and it's basically a 2-year deal. And then you mean tell me you're gonna play it safe with the pass rush, and you know the pass rush is, but you didn't have a pass rush. You didn't have when Davenport went down. You did not have a pass rush when Davenport went down from that side of the field, and all them people did was shift protection to block out Cam on the other side. You did not have any pass rushing assistance, and they was sending linebackers in there. DeMario get down, make a play, but come on, the best defense know how to rush forward and drop everybody back in the coverage.
That's going to be your most successful because you don't want to have. If you got to have not Davenport, if you got to have DeMario Davis, happen to go back there and get sacks, then who's going to be covering these running backs and tight ends and everything because he out of position now trying to help with some pass pressure.
Right.
So and good defensive linemen, especially in the middle, man. If you causing havoc right there, you make the linebacker's job easier.
Correct.
You know, they could run and hit and see everything. So maybe we need you know, Sheldon Rankins to come back to form and cause some havoc up the middle right there, because he's been gone. And you know, like I said, Brown has been doing consistently decent, but he's more of a run stopper. You know, but for his pass, that's not his high. That's not what he does consistently. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody who's gonna wreak some havoc. And Sheldon Rankins was doing that, but he's not available lately. You know?
Right.
So yeah, I think, you know, but it's getting close now to like that'll have to be the move, Q. It have to be somebody big, because you don't free up all this cap space in 1 or 2 days like they doing it overnight. And these, you know, reports coming out, I'm like, God damn. So man, they just signed Mike to the trade now. Restructuring them? Like, well, what they trying to do? So it had to be for that big move.
I agree with you, bro. I think that's, I mean, this is big blue chips, man. And a lot of people kind of looking at it, man, and they saying to themselves, they saying, man, the Saints is low balling, man. They doing this. Get Jenkins at $8 million to play, to bring veteran experience, locking up Janoris Jenkins, and then that shifts Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to the slot position. That secondary is set right there. Now they'll add a rookie or some other people to it to help. And now if Janoris Jenkins does, I mean, you just want to keep Jenkins because you just got him. You know, you got him on a great move. You picked up the waiver wire. You got him. You just need to restructure his contract. He wants to be here. He's a player. So is Jenkins. So is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So is Marshawn Lattimore. God damn it, 4 out of 5 ain't bad. 4 out of 5 will get Marcus Williams together.
But you think about it, and you know, by Lattimore and you know Jack Rabbit being ball hawk corners, what helps them would be pressure. Because I know Jack Rabbit loves to jump routes. You know what I'm saying? And Marshawn can cover for a long distance. So if you speed the quarterback up where he got to get it out more faster, yeah, I can see a lot of more turnovers happening. But you're gonna need some pressure there. So you're right. I don't understand. It would have to be a big move going into like some defensive line move to help out, because you got to look at it. Cam is getting older. You know what I'm saying? And behind him, who else you got? You know, right now, because I think Mario Williams probably going to be gone. I mean, he didn't contribute as much as they thought, but he's gone. And then, like you said, all these other guys, question marks. And then you trying to go in all for this year. This may be your last year or next year, but within this 2-year stretch, you got to get it done. And the only reason Malcolm Jenkins came back here because of Drew Brees and Sean Payton. He come in here thinking he can win a Super Bowl, bro. He wouldn't have just came to know any team at 32 years old, you know.
Right, and he really didn't want to go in the first place. But I'm saying at the end of the day, you think about the secondary I just laid out to the fan base, you know, to the Saints, great Saints tank, and to the rest of the Black and Gold Nation. The cornerbacks, starting cornerbacks, Marshawn Lattimore, Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins. Those are your 2 top cornerbacks. Slot man, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Malcolm Jenkins, Marcus Williams. That is 4 playmakers. Those are 4 ballers, intelligent players all over the field. And then you throw Marcus Williams in there. Marcus Williams, he will have to perform by way of them. Malcolm Jenkins is not going to let Marcus Williams sit back there and stink the joint up. I'm sorry.
He's going to be gone if he keep doing it. He's going to have to go. He's going to have to be benched.
So the pressure is on Williams more so than it ever has been before. It's on him. We putting it on. We've been placing for the Saints to be looking. Remember, the Saints, this is not nothing new. The Saints showed you a pattern. They were talking to Grant Delpit at the prospect meetings during the combine. Why are you talking to Grant Delpit? They let you know right there that they were interested in the safety, and it wasn't somebody to provide depth behind Williams. It's competition.
What if he's still available at 24? Do you grab him?
You take the best player on the board. If he's the only player left on the board, you take him, and then you find a place.
So you're gonna bench Marcus Williams?
You find a place for him, even if you got to run a 3 safety or whatever you got to do. And Marcus Williams is a free. If you take Delpit there, you know Marcus Williams. They're not gonna pay Marcus Williams no big contract. Me and you both know that. They're not gonna pay him.
Well, if they pick Delpit at 24, anytime you pick a player that high, you're looking for that player to come in and start and contribute immediately. You know what I'm saying? Especially at a safety.
I agree with you. I think the mentality of the team is to take the highest draft pick, you know, the best player available at 24. The Saints could very well trade back in the draft as well. So my mentality is, if Grant Delpit's there and he's the highest player remaining on your board, you take him and you find a place for him to play on the field. Even if you got to move some people around, Marcus Williams is under pressure this year. This last year before he's undrafted. I don't think the Saints will bring him back if they felt the need to be looking at other people. Like they just, Malcolm Jenkins, we get Malcolm Jenkins to kind of school Marcus Williams. That's not the thought process here. They're getting him to provide stability back there where Marcus Williams and Von Bell were flustered. So you moving this guy with his experience and to me, I think that's better than that. And then ultimately Grant Delpit will be the guy that does go. He would be actually the guy, the safety that you would want to keep a hold to for the future. He's a guy that can play either spot. He's incredibly intelligent and he's a ball hawk. He knows how to define the ball. He can blitz. The dude is incredible. So if you have a guy like that fall to you, he's the anti-Marcus Williams. He don't take poor angles. He throws himself into play. His eyes read the ball. He's intelligent, and plus he's an LSU guy, and we should be taking LSU players high with the characters that they're coming out with.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it because now, since you're going to have Brady in the division, you're going to want people to have that they call it that pre-snap intelligence, because you have Marcus Williams out there. This is before like the Malcolm Williams, Malcolm Jenkins signing. I was really scared about that because I'm like, man, they're gonna need to make some moves back there in the secondary because you went up against Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum and these dudes exposed you, bro. This gonna be a whole different whoop ass right here, So I was thinking like, God damn.
That's what I'm saying.
The highlights with this one gonna be fun.
I'm telling you, that's what you got. Tom Brady coming into the division. You got players like that coming to it. Carolina's gonna be a lot more competitive. So I mean, you have to address the back end of the defense. You got to. What better way to do it with Jenkins, who's a guy who was productive here. He was going through his learning curves early, but he went to Philadelphia and just showed what he was. He basically was the man for that Philadelphia defense. He was back there putting guys into places, and he was the in-play. He was the man on the back end of that defense, and that's what the Saints need. That's what they got. They paid $8 million for him, and they're gonna get their money worth. Bottom line, this is Drew's last year. They say.
Oh yeah, they're gonna. Yeah.
And we got. Let me see here. Hold on, just for a second.
But throughout the years after they let him go.
Hold on just a second, Kev. We got a few people in the chat. Questions. Big ups to Gundam 13. I see you, Gundam. Who that to you in the building? Ryan Farrell, Dr. Q. Who that to you? I see your family. Brother Paul in there, the historians in the building as well. Big ups to you. Kenny Sutton, my dog Revolt in the line. Javier, big ups to you, Javier. JT, big ups to you as well. Abraham Austin, who that to you? Abraham, I see your fam. And JT says, hey Q, what about Saquon Hampton? He reserve player. That's why I say I like the Malcolm Jenkins role, because guys like Saquon Hampton and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can learn a lot from playing with Malcolm Jenkins, and so can Marcus Williams. So he needs it. Right, he needs a tutelage. He needs that instruction, and Malcolm Jenkins is going to help him get together. This is going to be a good little. Learning process for those young defensive backs to have a guy like Jenkins back there. So this going to pay dividends.
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, you don't have to make the splash moves, but at some point you're going to have to make some moves that make sense, that people can come in and help you. And like you said, with Davenport as being up and down, you will want to see somebody who's going to bring some heat right out the gate. So if you see them sign Clowney, man, that's going to be big.
We just utilizing their words. Their words saying that when they signed Drew Brees and had him to take $50 million over 2 years, and which actually 4 years, and then $2 million just annual against the cap this year. Everything else in to next year. You're doing that for a reason. Then you restructure contracts of your top players. We're talking about reconstructing contracts of Mike Thomas, of Teron Armstead, getting Drew to take $2 million annual so he don't impact this year. Then you bring in Malcolm Jenkins for $8 $8 million, which is not a hefty price tag for a guy like that who gonna give you all that. It's gonna make plays on the field and off the field, get your defense together on the back end. He's like the equivalent of what Demario Davis is for the linebackers, or what Cam is to the defensive line. I agree with that. Then you look at what other places can we improve the team. Say, well, Q, wide receiver. You look at the wide receivers out there. Most of these guys out here are not considered impact players. Even if you look at a Robbie Anderson or somebody like that, that's not an impact guy. He's a nice player to have, but that's not impact. Who are impact players that the Saints told Drew that they was going to get in free agency? Possible it could be a trade. Who that to diehard Saints fan? I see you in that fan. Big ups to you. But who could be that player? I'm looking at a guy like Clowney, and of course, the Saints' propensity to grab Minnesota Vikings players. Everson Griffin is, in my mind, another person that the Saints can look at. It improves. You get Griffin on there, or man, I just don't want to put the Clowney thing out there, but I'm saying the Clowney could be a reality if you can get him to take a significant less amount of money for over the first couple of years and heavily backload his contract with all of his money and give him a big fat signing bonus. Is possible. But what makes sense is Griffin to me over Clowney, even though I would love to have Clowney here. I would just put it like that.
Well, I think it had to be some kind of discussion going on when you seen Drew Brees' deal. Like you said, when just the $2 million is going to count against this year. It's some discussion went on at probably to him of what they trying to do and what they would need to kind of fill in the pieces to get over that hump. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think something like this was discussed, because Drew don't really take deals like this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like, okay, this would make sense to get a major piece. Not saying it's going to be the final piece, but it's going to be probably a bigger upgrade than you ever had at that position.
Yeah, it would be. And to give Cam Jordan a serious compliment to play next to him, a guy like you don't have to teach him nothing. Just point at the quarterback and say, "Go get that some gun."
Just go get him.
Just go get him. And then the fact of the matter, you can sell it to either Clowney or Griffin by telling them that you compliment Cam Jordan, and who's most of the times going to play over the top the best tackle. He's going to draw the most of the double teams. So you the second guy, which means you're going to be firing off the opposite side, which pretty much means that you're going to be going at the weaker of the two tackles. You're not going to see the double teams all the time, because the Saints have Onyemata and other pushes in the interior defensive lineman that provides a push as well as the edge rushers, and then you'll have a refreshed Marcus Davenport firing off as the situational passer.
Right.
So
he probably could last longer too.
Oh, he definitely would. You would extend his life and then add a guy who knows how to rush the passer, who can show him technique as well. Either one of these guys work for the money. To me, the Saints, it just makes so much sense to me that I would love them to get Clowney, because he would answer so many questions on defense, and you would see that defense truly take off like you've never seen before. But since the Dome Patrol, let me put it like that, but Griffithson makes the most sense to me, because you can get him at the right price. The Saints are familiar with him, and the fact that they have a ritual of consistently going and get Minnesota Vikings playmakers. That would be stellar to me, that they would be working on a deal by him. Clowney, I love the Clowney move, but we'll see. But Griffin, I just think that just makes all the sense. They need another pass rusher. Don't count on no college dude. You know what I'm saying? Don't count on no college players. Just you got a college man in Davenport, 2 years hurt. Get a guy that you just point at the quarterback and say, go get him.
Well, okay, so if you move into offense, do they franchise tag Kamara?
They can franchise tag Kamara, but that don't necessarily mean that he's gonna play under that franchise. If you go, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna piss him off, and he's gonna hold out. He's gonna talk to them about what he wants to do, but I don't see Kamara. Let's say this. McCaffrey, I'm watching what McCaffrey do, and so is Kamara's people, because they know that Christian McCaffrey wasn't hurt. He played all of last year. He was breaking records. He was doing some stuff. He was doing it big for a losing team. He already said that he is not coming to camp without a new contract. I'm
Yeah,
telling
I
you,
agree
that's
with.
the same method that Elvin Kamara and Rich Paul will do. They're going to tell him we're not
Yep.
coming to camp without a contract. And if Sean Payton is
Yeah.
smart, he will keep it real. And he had more than 4 days by now since he made that dumbass statement about needing 4 days to talk over whether or not to keep Elvin Kamara. He had more than enough time to decide on whether or not it's a good idea to keep Kamara and pay him at north of $8 million a season to stay with the Saints, or pick up one of these fantastic backs like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's a
Yep.
Sproles version +2, and all these other fantastic running backs who come at a significantly less rate. You're gonna have to school them in the offense, but that's the price that you pay when you don't want to pay guys that are superstars. Kamara is a superstar. He's gotten up to the potential where he was a 3rd round draft pick. Very few people know him about. He's now considered a star, and those stars want to make money because they're incredibly productive. It gives defensive coordinators nightmares of how they're going to defend the guy, and he's a matchup nightmare because you have other components on the Saints offense that's impactful. So you have to decide on who you're going to stop. So my thing is, if you pay him $8 million and you work out a contract where you give him the signing bonus money, you give him guaranteed money, and then you backload the contract like Mickey Loomis is known to do, perhaps you could be able to work. You can make it work. But he's not. I'm thinking he's going to hold out just like Christian McCaffrey is.
Yeah, that's definitely coming. If once all this stuff is over with the virus, and hopefully that soon, stuff get back on track. Yeah, I could definitely see going into camp that would be a holdout. That's going to be major news.
No doubt.
So the Saints got to decide right now. If you feel this strong about him, make this offer and go ahead and put it to rest. Or if you're unsure, go ahead and trade him before the draft so you can acquire some picks and get some compensation. Because there's no sense of going into camp with no deal made and this guy just sitting out, because he's not going to play until a deal is made. So you're going to have this lingering headline the whole season.
It becomes a distraction because you refuse to move on it, and I guess you could try to say that you're going to try to stall him out. But Kamara's stubborn enough to not play. He's stubborn enough to not play and not be forced into playing. He's not going to that's just not something Rich Paul would recommend. Just go to camp and play. Where's the leverage in that?
No,
he ain't gonna ain't gonna advise you that. He gonna advise you. The only thing you have as a weapon to use against them is your labor. Withdraw your labor and force them to compensate you accordingly. That's what we're saying about most jobs. When I speak about jobs, I'm about to go off on a little quick tangent, but that's what the agreement is between if you work for somebody and you got a job. Your job application is a contract. On a contract to tell you rules and regulations, and they negotiate the pay. Don't be surprised if people that you're working with, y'all all don't get paid the same amount of money, and they could be doing the same thing as you. They could have been there at the same amount of time as you, because each job application or contract is negotiable with the person. That's why they tell the employees don't tell each other what you make, because they know that more people that you could be there the same amount of time, start at the same time, but this other person making $2 more than you, because they had the wherewithal to negotiate their wage rate versus you just accepting basically a what you would call the basic thing that's written in there. You have to be
a friendly deal.
Right. You just signed a basic template. You just took the template, the basic template. So that's people don't understand. These players leverage their talent. They call it talent, but their labor. That's pretty much what it is. They leverage their talent or their labor every time. That's why most of these guys are demanding a lot of money, because they understand that it's incredibly dangerous. They understand that what they put in their body through is not natural. They understand what they put in their mind through is not natural. That's how most of them have bad shit crazy. They have domestic issues because they have pain issues. They get hooked on a lot of these painkillers. They're using steroids to force their body to places where they ain't supposed to. It's putting pressure on their organs. It's putting pressure on their heart. So a lot of the money they're making when they finish playing, they're going to have to use that to take care of themselves. That's the horrible truth behind it on the other side. When you watch some of these old-aged NFL guys, they can barely walk. They slurred in their speech. They have various health issues, and then they're still trying to take care of their families and all this kind of stuff. And when your mind goes from concussions and getting hit in the head and all this kind of nonsense, Who gonna
Yeah,
take care?
it's
You
over.
might get somebody that might end up stealing your money or something. So you got a lot of stuff you have to consider when you plan any sport, especially one as reckless as football, that we don't as fans don't look at. But there's a human element involved, and that's how most of these agents are able to slide into, representing some of these athletes, because they are educating them on why it is imperative for you to use your labor as a tool to empower you as opposed to depower you.